What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis, and today we're celebrating 10 years of FPV and drone videos on the Drone Camps channel, one of the original drone channels on YouTube. You're watching it right here in 2024, and I'm here to give you an updated version of the best, the cheapest, best long-range drone that you can get out there that will go the distance and make it home. There are other companies out there you can check out like Darwin FPV, but today it's all about Geprc. The Mark4 LR8 is here. It is $280 for a bind and fly setup. I have TBS Crossfire on here. I have an analog VTX on the back that runs up to 2.5 watt. That is a ton of power, and it should get you out there well over 6 to 8 to 10 miles, depending on the type of battery that you choose to put on here. It's also 6S. We have a 6S battery right here. It's a 6S 6000 milliamp. You can also put in upwards of 8,000 milliamp to 10 AH on here to be able to get a really long flight time in the 30-minute range if that's what you're looking for. You can also put a GoPro on here, run it without a GoPro. You can add GPS. This version that I have here doesn't come with GPS, so you can add that on later as you learn how to fly. Or if you're already flying RC airplanes, this would make an easy transition over for you because you've already been flying large stuff. If you're here watching this video right now and you haven't flown anything small around the house or even flown any FPV, this would be a really hard place for you to start. So I suggest checking out some of our other videos where we already talk about beginner setups. Start out with a ready to fly bundle, and that is going to be the best way to become a long-range FPV pilot. So if that's what you're looking to do today, we're going to talk about some of those fundamentals in how to fly long-range. We're also going to take a look at this drone. We're going to fly it together, and I'm going to give you my final opinion on the LR8 from Geprc. But I'm surprised that in the beginning of 2024, here we go, this is a $280 drone from Geprc. So yes, it is cheap, but it has great gear on here. So if you want a cheap long-range quad, this one has great gear on it for a great price. So let's go ahead and get started now with a flight test. After that, we'll come back and check it out on the bench, and I'll show you what you can get for the cheapest, best drone this year so far in 2024. Let's check it out.
I say hold up, got my glizzy, bang bang. I say hold up, got my glizzy, bang bang.
Welcome back from the flight test, and I'm here to tell you the good news because I just went on the website, geprc.com. You can check out my link down below with a direct link to this MARK4 LR8. Now, the cheapest version of it that I found was the 5.8 1.6 watt version, and that 1.6 watt version is $239. That's pretty freaking insane. They have options on the website for PNP, and that's what I was telling you about for the $239 price. Like $240. I was wrong. At first I said $280 because that seems like the world's cheapest Geprc best long-range drone out there on the planet for analog. But it's even cheaper, $239. So that's like, yeah, that's $40 cheaper than what I originally thought the drone was going for. The one that I have sitting here is actually $259 with a 2.5 watt VTX on the back of it. 2.5 watt is I mean, it is pumping. It is really, really going to give you some serious range. You could go well over 10 miles with 2.5 watt, and that's kind of crazy. But now that you know that, now that you know, in comparison to something else out there, you have to see like a DJI O3 quad. I have one sitting right over here, and this is one of the best out there. You can see the other one hanging on the wall way back there. That is the Geprc Moz7. That one cost around $500 to $600 to set up with DJI gear on there. And that one's a whole different level. We're not even going to get into that in this video, but what we are going to get into is how streamlined this quad is, the weight of this compared to something like your traditional DJI O3 quad, like the Crocodile75 V3 and the Moz7, in comparison to something like this. I will do a little bit of weight comparison so you see how stripped down this quad is. It reminds me of like an old school 2015 frame, just completely bare bones. There's no printing on the motors here. It's a true X replaceable arm type of quad with minimal hardware in the center, but it's still strong enough to carry a GoPro and run Crossfire and run up to 2.5 watts. Kind of crazy. Let's go ahead and take a little closer look now at the frame and the truck bed, the GoPro mount, and all that good stuff. The MARK4 LR8 on the scale without a battery on it, without a GoPro on it, is 600 grams on the dot. That's pretty lightweight for long-range FPV drones. So I'm going to set this to the back over here. I'm going to grab one of our favorite long-range 7-inch, 7.5-inch actually, drones from 2023. And just as you can see right there, 690.1 grams on the dot. And this is the DJI O3 version with the 4K DVR in the very back, stabilized 4K video, dual antennas. It's got the O3 camera on the front, plenty of TPU shrouds, and you can kind of see this one also has side skirts on it in comparison to our bare bones MARK4 LR8. This is a lot different right here. So this one also comes with a GoPro mount up front. And what I did was I just went over to my stack of 7-inch quads and I stole a GoPro mount off the front of one of the other quads because this one does not come with one. Again, this one's completely bare bones out of the box. You pretty much get the quad and the receiver, and that's about it in this box. And in the front of the MARK4, you notice there's not a lot of TPU around. It's mostly carbon side plates, very old school, kind of 2015 style. It has the aluminum standoffs, one on each side right here. The camera has some pretty decent protection from side to side and an extra carbon plate on the very bottom. And it does have a decent analog camera on there. It looked pretty good for the cloudy day that we flew today, and this is the Cadex H1 analog camera. Another way Geprc cut cost on this 8-inch quad, they gave you unbranded motors on here. These are bigger than the Crocodile 7.5-inch quad that we saw. Those were 2806.5 and those were 1350 kV. And sometimes when you get a much larger motor swinging a bigger prop, like an 8-inch prop here, it's an 8040-3 prop from GemFan. It is a glass fiber prop. You can kind of see the sparkles in it. You need a little bit lower kV to not draw as many amps. So they kV'd down on these at 1280 kV, which gives us a nice long flight time. I'm thinking that I could get maybe even 24 to 25 minutes out of that 6000 pack if I didn't even see the voltage really drop with these. So that tells me that they're super, super efficient. And if we look out at the end, the underside of this arms on this 8-inch quad, you're looking at 4 M3 bolts here to hold these big beastie motors on. You can kind of see the sparkle in that glass fiber prop here, and these look and feel a lot different than the standard 5-inch race drone props, which are mostly plastic. So there's quite a bit of glass fiber built into these to give it a little more strength with all of the weight of this quad that you're going to be carrying with a GoPro and a large 6,000 milliamp to 8,000 milliamp battery. You also don't see any TPU edging on the outside of this motor like you do on the Crocodile and the Moz7. There's no extra TPU protection. You could print some and apply it here on those 4 motor bolts if you find one to fit, or you could engineer your own. And on the bottom here, we get the old school foam landing pads. You get an extra set of these in the box, but I got around 8 of these, so I just stuck a couple on for takeoff so that I don't scratch up the bottom of this frame. And at the center of the quad, you see the super streamlined top plate. You see the flight controller, the ESCs under there. There's 60 amp ESCs on this quad. I mean, can I get a hallelujah for that? That's a huge amount of ESCs for the $239 mark. It's kind of crazy that you can get 60 amp ESCs for this price. It's just completely insane. It is not an F7 flight controller as well. It's the Geprc F405 HD V2 flight controller. And yeah, you heard me right. This is actually an HD flight controller. So that means that later on, if you want to pull off this analog VTX in the back and you want to upgrade to DJI-03, the DJI-03 will fit back here and does have mounting holes for that. So you can take this off and then you can take a cable and pretty much plug it into this flight controller, plug and play. So there's a HD harness on here for adding an 03 or a Cadex Vista if you want to upgrade to HD later, which I think is super cool. But in the very back as well, you can see our 2.5 watt VTX, and this thing is a total beast. It has heat sink on the very top, MMCX connector here, and it bridges around back through here. Singular antenna in the back, which just screws on, but it is the Momoda, and it is a long range application style antenna, which you want to bend up to get the longest range. And on the very bottom, we have another heat sink. So it has dual heat sinks on this and that center stack, and it has a lot of room underneath it for adding a VTX cut, for adding my TBS Nano receiver under there, which comes right out the back right here. I have my Immortal T mounted to this spot right here. And later on, if you want to add GPS, you can also do that as well. If we look at the bottom of this frame, again, we have that super long body design. We have extra carbon bracing in the back here, a little tiny piece with 2 M3 bolts here. We have a bumper plate up front to give you a little bit of crash durability in the front as well with 2 M3s and replaceable arms. Now, if you look at this quad from front to back, it has that classic long body top plate. It is 8 bolts to release this top plate, so it's pretty quick to get to the flight controller should you add GPS or add a receiver on here or add any other type of modules. Kind of cool that it's long enough to also accommodate this 6,000 pack battery. So the truck bed, as we call it, is the distance between the back, where the very back of the quad is, to where the camera mount is. You're going to have a little bit of a tilt with a GoPro. Once you put a GoPro on there, it's going to show you, it's going to have a little bit less truck body, as we call it. But the thing is that even if you're running about, say, 25 degrees worth of tilt, you can still get a 6,000 milliamp pack on here around this distance all the way to the back of this quad, and it looks gigantic on here, but that's the way she sits. An 8,000 pack is going to look even bigger, but for an 8-inch quad, that's what they run on the regular. And remember how I said something about it being kind of like a 2015 style streamlined kind of slimmed down type of frame? It has a hole near the very back, which is a vertical mount hole for a VTX antenna. This was something we used to do back in the 2015 era when we had mounted carbon plate 5.8 antennas coming off the back. We stopped doing that. We started putting them out the back like this on a TPU mount because it gave you a little bit of bounce and flex when you crash. If you mount it straight to the carbon, you're most likely going to break that antenna off. So Geprc has kind of modernized this frame by adding this TPU mount in the very back. And this is literally the only piece of TPU on this entire quad. And if we look a little bit of size comparison to the Crocodile V3 over here, it's really not a big difference as far as size goes. It almost looks like these motors even come out a little bit further, and this one's running 7.5-inch props, where this one is running 8-inch props. But big price difference between a $600 to $700 quad like you have up here with all the TPU trimmings and all the bells and whistles, to a stripped down version of an ultralight 8-inch long range quad like the Mark4 LR8. Just a big difference weight wise, and it's amazing to me that this 8-inch quad is lighter than my Crocodile, which was one of the lightest 7-inch class category long range drones of the year last year. Now on the website, they do also have 3 different type of VTX antennas that you can get, and they're running 3 different types of spectrums. This one is 1.2G VTX. It has sort of a V-shaped antenna that comes off the back of the quad. 1.2 runs pretty good. I have run it before, and that's great for ultra long range. They also have a 4.9G VTX antenna, and it looks like a standard, almost like the Momoda antenna, which is on the 5.8, and that's the other offering we have, 5.8G. So take your pick. If it was me, I would probably go with the 5.8 or the 1.2G. Now, what's my final thoughts as far as my takeaway from getting this product, taking it out of the box? I don't get paid to make these videos. I get a box in the mail, and I open the box, I fly it, and I give you my honest opinion on it based on what I have here in my shop. And I have the top long-range quads in the world. This amazed me because of, number one, the price and the size. It's amazing that they're able to offer a stripped-down frame. I love that. I've been talking about that since the Crocodile V3. That one's really stripped down and lightweight in the 7-inch category, but this is one of the lightest 8-inch drones that I have seen come in my shop, and it comes with some decent, nice feature and electronics on here for $240. No one out there on the planet right now is beating that for an 8-inch drone. If you find it, drop me a link. I would love to see something cheaper than this, but I would almost be scared to fly it if it was cheaper than $240. Even Darwin FPV has a brand new X9 9-inch long-range FPV drone. Go look at it. That one's $300 to start. So, I mean, shave off 1 inch and you can get yourself this one for so much cheaper, $60 cheaper, and pick your receiver of choice, or if you already have one, wire one up. But if you're flying something this size, you know, you're already experienced enough to be able to add your own receiver on there, and it's likely that you have one laying around. Now, you have a couple different options as far as like cinema style video. You can put a GoPro Hero 10, 9, 10, or 11 on there, full-size GoPro. You might have to get yourself a mount off the Geprc website for your LR8. You can also do something like Geprc's. My most recommended camera is going to be the GP11. I'll put a link down below for this one as well. This GP11 is basically a stripped down version of a GoPro. So it has all the extra heavy stuff removed, and it's just the interior electronics with this tiny little frame around it to give it a little bit of protection, and it still has a screen and an ND filter. So I would definitely check out the GP11. You can see on the side there, GP11. It says 10 on the front, but it is the 11 in the box. But I hope you enjoyed this video today. I enjoyed flying it. It was ultra smooth. It has a beautiful tune on here. It is an ultralight 8-inch, and it's really cost effective. And I may leave this one the way it is because I feel like this could go further out than the DJI-03. So people are going to be asking me like, oh, can it go further than the DJI-03? Probably so at 2.5 watt analog. Analog can go notoriously further than pretty much any of the DJI stuff that we're flying FPV drones with. So yeah, we'll see how it happens when the DJI-04 comes out later this year. But until then, this is the cheapest 8-inch out there on the planet, and the best one that I would give you for 2024 so far. And it's only January, so we'll see what happens in the future, folks. Stay right here on the channel, guys. Please do subscribe, and I will bring you what's next and what's new tutorials and flight tests. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one.